y 30 minutos.
The Gospel of Jesus and his disciples. And Jesus came and spoke unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. Good morning to our radio audience. God bless you. This is your Hour of Faith broadcast, bringing to you the St. Luke Congregational Church of God in Christ over station TIQ Radio Casino. Now the old-fashioned gospel singers with the chorus, He lives. He lives, He lives, Christ Jesus lives today. He walks with me and talks with me along life's narrow way. He lives, salvation to impart. You ask me how, I know He lives. He lives within my heart. And now let us raise our hands as we give God thanks for His many blessings He has bestowed upon us, as we sing that wonderful chorus that say, Praise God, praise God. Praise God, 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 praise God. Praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God. And now we'll have our pastor with the reading of the scripture, followed by prayer, even for the sick one.
Good morning, radio friends. The peace of God be with you this morning.
Amen.
Our reading this morning is from the book of Matthew 24, verse 3 onward. Matthew 24, chapter 24, verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples come unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the signs of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famine, and pestilence, and earthquake in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrow. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hate of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall be waxed cold. But he that shall endure it to the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Almighty God, we thank you this morning for your love, mercy, and compassion towards each and every one of us.
Yes, sir.
We pray for those who are sick. Remember them in many mercy, my God. Oh God, your healing balm be upon them. You was wounded for our transgression. You was bruised for our iniquity. The chastisement of our peace was upon you, and by your stripes we are healed. Help us, Lord, to obtain all these promises of yours, O God, through your Son, Jesus Christ. Touch and bless and deliver, Lord. All for your name's sake we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Greetings are going out to all you radio listeners out there who is listening to our program at this time. This song is for you. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest friend, but only lean on Jesus' name. On Christ the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. When he shall come with trumpet sound, oh, may I then in him be found, dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless to stand before the throne. On Christ the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. The staff of this program is sending out birthday greetings to one of our faithful listeners, no one else but Sister Marjorie McDougall, who will be celebrating her birthday on the 7th. Sister, we pray God's richest blessing upon you and give you one more birthday. We may have someone who is at this time is celebrating their birthday. We wish you all God's richest blessing at this time. I want to send greetings also to Miss Lydia Williams and to Miss Betty Barrett, who is listening to our program at this time, Miss Olive Evans. We pray God's richest blessing upon you all. Under his wings I am safely abiding, though the night depends on tempest or wild, still I can trust him, I know he will keep me. He has redeemed me, and I am his child. Under his wings, under his wings, oh, from his rock and Savior. Under his wing, my soul shall abide, safely abide forever. Under his wings, oh, what precious enjoyment! There will I hide till life's trials are o'er, sheltered, protected, no and safe evermore. Under his wings, under his wings, who from his love can save her. Under his wings, my soul shall abide, safely abide forever. Greetings to our shut-in members, sick and shut-in members. At this time, we are going to sing another song. In time like this, you need a Savior. In time like this, you have an anchor. Be very sure, be very sure. Your anchor holds and grief the solid rock. This rock is Jesus, yes, He's the one. This rock is Jesus, the only one. Be very sure, be very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. In time like this, you need a Bible. In time like this, oh, be not idle. Be very sure, be very sure. Your anchor holds and grief the solid rock. In time like this, I have a Savior. In time like this, I have an anchor. Be very sure, be very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. This rock is Jesus, yes, He's the one. This rock is Jesus, the only one. Be very sure, be very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. Amen. Amen. And now our pastor with the message. Get your Bible and your pencil and paper. God bless you.
God bless you once more this morning. It's so good to be with you to share God's word. Hallelujah. As we are reading the book of Matthew, it says, and as he sat up on the Mount of Olives, the disciples come unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the signs of the coming and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. My friend, the Word of God is reminding us of the time that we are living in. The Bible said in 2 Timothy chapter 3, He said, this know also that in the last days perilous time shall come. For many shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, trust breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are of good, traitors, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. This is a description that is taking place in these, the last days, the end times, where everybody take their own way. As the Bible says that God laid upon Jesus the iniquity of us all. All have gone their own way. But God's mercy had provided Jesus Christ that we can make a turn around and seek Him and draw close to Him. The Word of God says, seek the Lord in the time that we can find Him and call upon Him while He is near. He said, let the wicked forsake his ways and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and God will abundantly pardon. We see the time, it says in 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 1, it said, now the Spirit speak expressly that in the latter time, which is this time that we are living in, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirit and doctrine of devils. We easily see this behavior in mankind. We see all the things that the Bible describes. There will be famine, there will be pestilence, there will be all type of sickness and disease in the world. Hallelujah. And God already provide a way of escape to those who decide to turn to Him wholeheartedly. Hallelujah. It says in Exodus chapter 15 verse 26, Exodus 15:26, and said, Jesus, God is speaking now. He says, and said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the word of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord thy God who healeth thee. My God. God is telling us that if we walk in His ways and give ourselves wholeheartedly to Him through His Son Jesus Christ, He will keep us from all these diseases that God put upon the Egyptian. Hallelujah. In Psalms 103 verse 3 it says, who forgiveth all thy iniquities, who healeth all thy disease. That is God, who is able to do, hallelujah, more than we can able to ask of Him. He says He will do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can able to ask or think. But we need to acknowledge Jesus Christ as our Lord and become a new creature, new birth in Christ Jesus, and He will keep us from all these things that coming up on the face of the earth. Hallelujah. In Matthew 1:34, Jesus speaking, He says, and He healed many that were sick of the diverse diseases, and cast out many devils, and suffered not the devil to speak, because they know Him. Thank you, Jesus. God is reminding us that we're coming to the end of time, and there is a lot of things popping up, and we need to secure ourselves in the arms of Jesus Christ. As the songwriter says, all other ground is sinking sand. Thank you, Jesus. He said, on Christ the solid rock I stand. Hallelujah. There is no other ground to stand but on that solid rock. And that rock is Jesus. Thank you, Lord. And He's available for all those who surrender their life to Him and turn to Him. He will bless us and supply all our needs according to His riches in glory. In the book of Luke 9:1, He says, and then He called His 12 disciples together and give them power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases. My friend, God is the same God yesterday, today, and forever. We need to keep pushing on, pressing on. Hallelujah. And don't get weary in well-doing. For in due season, it will reward each and every one of us who be persistent. Hallelujah. Don't get weary in well-doing, my friend. Because God is still God. He still is able. Hallelujah. All we have to do is believe. The Bible said that in 2 Peter 3:9. It said, the Lord is not slack concerning His promise, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Thank you, Jesus. It's about the day, not the hour. Hallelujah. No one know, but He will come like a thief. But we have to remember that He will come like a thief unto those who not looking out for Him, who not expecting Him, who not concerned about His coming. He will come upon them like a thief. But those of us who are looking out, are waiting, are pending, hallelujah, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. We will be aware of His coming, and we are aware of His coming. Thank you, Jesus. May God help us. Thank you, Jesus. As we see, as we read already in Matthew 24:3, it says, and as He sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples come unto Him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the signs in the coming of at the end of the world? And Jesus said to them, take heed that no one deceive you. You will see all these things what I've been mentioning this morning. Hallelujah. So we need to watch and pray. The Bible says that we must watch and pray, that we enter not into temptation. He said the heart is willing, but the flesh is weak. So by having this understanding, we shall know that we cannot depend on our own strength, but we need to depend on the grace and the mercy and the love of God. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus, that because He is able to deliver us from all the fiery darts of the enemy. Because the Bible said that He will come like a roaring lion, seeking who He may devour. But may God give us the grace, the strength to overcome. The Bible says, he that persevere to the end, the same, hallelujah, shall overcome. Thank you, Jesus. May God bless you this morning. May God encourage your soul. Hallelujah. That you understand all these diseases that we hear in diverse places. All these war, all these contention, all these trouble, hallelujah, between nation, between people. between even couples in their own home. Some home is like a battlefield, war and trouble and contention. And why? Many wonder why it is like that. But the devil, hallelujah, some don't even want to hear the devil. Anybody speak about the devil, but the devil is in the midst of them making mischief. And they're blaming one another for what is going on. Not noticing that is Satan, the devil, is who making strife between them. And instead of blaming one another, what we should do is bow our knees and cry out to God for mercy. And you see things will change. Hallelujah. But blaming this one and that one, it never fix the condition. May God help you and open your eyes to understand what is taking place in your life. May God bless you. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all within me. Bless his holy name. May God bless you, keep you, and cover you under the shadow of his almighty wing, and supply your needs, and give you understanding. The word of God saying, all you're seeking, seek understanding. Glory be to God.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, loved ones, for keeping us over these airways. Also, we thank you to remember us in your prayer as we do remember you also. This is your announcer, Sister Olga. God be with you until we meet again. When we all get to heaven,
what a day of rejoicing that will be, that will be. When we all see Jesus, we will sing and shout for victory. When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be, that will be. When we all see Jesus, we will sing and shout for victory. Your friend.
Desde Puerto Limón, Costa Rica, transmite TI